Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
What we will do is, we have this sheet with us. Now what we are going to do is we will see how to, create hierarchies and how to drill down. How to create drill down. To create a hierarchy, what we do is we can create it in two ways. One we can do is, we can go to any of your dimensions. You can go and put a right click. And you can go and you can see you have this option which calls hierarchy, and you can create a hierarchy. Else, what you can do is, you can just take this. We have category, right? If I want to create a hierarchy, what is a hierarchy? A hierarchy is nothing but a sequential form in which I want to see the data, or in our day-to-day work lives, you will see hierarchy. There is an associate above it. There is an analyst. Then there is a senior analyst. Then there is a manager, nor a team leader manager. And then the manager reports to a director or the director to a VP. This is a hierarchy, right? If someone wants to see the flow of something based on the hierarchy, that means that I want to see how is my sales doing with respect to the entire hierarchy of chain of things that I'm investing into, or I want to drill down to. That's basically hierarchy, which in a sequential manner, it will show up the data. Over here as well, we can create a hierarchy. Let me just show you the other way of doing it. If I have subcategory and I have category and I want to see this in a hierarchical manner, what I can do is I can just, click this field and I can take it over to category. And see then automatically what happens. Category, subcategory, a hierarchy comes out, right? Let me name it as, say product. See what happens. A hierarchy symbol comes up. Excuse me. I'm having a bad throat today. See, a blue symbol comes up a hierarchy, and which I've named it as product, and it contains category and subcategory, right? If I drag this hierarchy onto my rows, see the product. If I drag, it automatically gives the category in there, right? Now, you see, once you create a hierarchy, what happens is there is a plus symbol beside the category, right? Which shows that there are further more drill downs available for you in order to see your data. Or maybe the other way I'll do it. Now, if you want to say, suppose, see further, more categorize, what you need to do is you need to create on this plus, which basically shows you the subcategory. Now the hierarchy is category and subcategory. We have the category and then we have the subcategory which we can do. It. If I do a minus, what happens if this gets? Now we can create hierarchies like this as we want to. As, say, suppose you're a manager or you're an investor or you're a team lead who wants to check your data on a hierarchical manner, that you know how much of my category and subcategory is functional with respect to sales, maybe. What you can do is, you can very well look at it from the. Now say suppose you have product name. Now you want to have the product name bifurcation as well as part of the subcategory as part of the hierarchy. What you can do is you can drag it to this and see automatically. Subcategory has a plus symbol. Correct. If you do this, what happens is you get there. Now you get the product name view of it. Subcategory and product name. Correct. Also, you can define how you want to see your data. If product name is something you want it as first in the hierarchy, you can do that. Now see, product name has a plus because product name is at first. And then comes category. And then comes subcategory. That's how you can drill down on your data and you can see that. You can see that how I want to see my data or how I want to drill down my data. That's how you can do it. Now, this is something that you have created for yourself. Now, then there are some of the categories which are auto-defined. Anyway, anytime you want to remove a hierarchy, you can remove it like this. You can do a remove hierarchy and the cat and it becomes free to the table. Now some of the categories are auto-defined in the hierarchies. Namely date. If you have a date, do we have a date over here? We do have a date. If I drag date over here, you will see that it is always coming as a year and order date. Right. Whereas see why we say that these are auto-defined, because these are C order. Date is only a single field that is coming from the data. There is no hierarchy that we are manually defining in it. But as they are auto-defined, what happens is it gives a hierarchy. If I want to see with respect to year, I do a plus, I get quarters. When I do a plus, I get month. And when I get days. If you are if you are a manager, if you are a sales manager, say suppose, and you want to see the days or month-wise sales for it, you can very well do it. If you have sales over here, say you know that what is my sales, and then you go to quarters. You get the quarterly level bifurcation, you go to month. Now you have the month level bifurcation, and finally, when you do this, you get the day level bifurcation. That's how you know the auto-defined drill down works. And this is also called a discrete data view. We will do a discrete and continuous today, and whereby we will know what is discrete, what is continuous, how to identify them. But as the name suggests, discrete is basically where it is differentiated or where something is separated. And it's not an aggregation, it's separated. We can see separate views or we can see separate things with respect to the thing that we are talking of. That's how we can do it. In case you want, continuous, in case you want a continuous stuff, you can very well go and you can do this. You can put a right click and what happens is you can put it as continuous. If you put it as continuous, continuous is nothing, but if you see it's an aggregate, that happens, right? It's an aggregate of the things that are happening. That's how aggregation happens. And that's how it is made as continuous. The point to be noted over here is that why we are talking of discrete or continuous. Where is it? We have this order date, right? We were talking about discrete. Discrete is separated. We can separate things, right? Where we are separating. But if you look at it from this manner, whereby we made the year as continuous, continuous is whereby things get aggregated. Correct? And when things get aggregated, you will see an aggregated and we cannot separate it. Always keep in mind, we will talk of it in the today's session only in the database. Discrete can be separated. Continuous is aggregated. Now continuous cannot be separated because continuous is always based on a aggregation function. Guys, am I out of it? Yes, we know. Continuous is basically whereby you have something which is aggregated using a sum, average, multiplication, whatever. Like there will be a function or an aggregation that will happen whenever there is an operation happening. But the point to be noted over here is now when I make year as continuous, what happens is I'm not getting those drill downs in there. But like see, I don't have the drill downs. Why do I not have the drill downs anymore? Like in a separated manner. That's because we have not. Oh, I'm very sorry. Very sorry. Very sorry. I'll tell you something before I go to the continuous. Because that is whenever you put a right click on anything on a column whereby you have defined a dimension. The first box that comes is for discrete and the second one that comes is for continuous. I should have told you this before I show you this. If you have ordered date again over here, when you change it over here, this is basically for discrete. And discrete will have those things. But when I take order date, when I make it continuous, I should refer to the box below. This is for discrete. This is for continuous. When I choose year. Now see, previously when I used to click in this plus, what used to happen year to quarter? There used to be one more peel. When I'm talking, when I tell a peels basically nothing but fields. People refer to these elements as pills. You would have seen when I click on this, I get a pill which talks about quarter. The next pill talks about month. And the last pill talks about days. But over here what happens? Over here, you see, if I click on the plus, quarter comes in the single thing because it is a continuous. And continuous is always aggregated. See, everything is coming in a single thing. It's not getting separated. That is the difference between discrete and continuous as well, whereby discrete can be separated. Whereas continuous. Continuous is not, cannot be separated, but they are aggregated. The dimensions as well. Whenever they are made continuous, they get aggregated with some value and they cannot be separated, but they come in one view itself. One more thing. Whenever you see discrete and continuous, very basic differences. Very basic difference is the color, right? Whenever there is a continuous or a measurement, we will have a green color over here. And whenever we have a dimension, which is discrete or anything, like if you want to make it discrete as well, it will. But it doesn't make sense. Whenever you will have a continuous, it will be green. And whenever you have a discrete value, it is blue. It, like whenever we are trying bifurcate this thing, A continuous, it will definitely be bifurcated, but it won't be separated. That's the thing. That's all about drilling downs hierarchy. Let's see what is called grouping. Grouping is where grouping is nothing. If you want to group multiple things into one place, that is called grouping. When you select multiple and create a group, it basically gives you a separate, what is it? I mentioned all together, which has as a group in it. If you have like twin products for yourself, and that 4 products are identical, and you want to see all those 4 together in a group against all the rest of the products, you can create a group and you can tally for yourself. Grouping happens in many ways. Let me show you one example. That's how it is. That's how it is. We can see that thing is like this. We have we have we have the cells over here. I want to see Canada, Canada, Africa. With respect, we will click check support Canada. The 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 3 select right click as I did right. There is an option called group. Group together. The option written. Now make create group. Compare coming. Coming wa- group. Right. Thing. Coming. That's basic thing. Things that called grouping. Head create create group. Window which consists dimensions, measurements, create group, creating variable sub subcategories. Subcategory. Right click option create group. There group. Copy group. Support the subcategories grouped together. Select the option code group. Group the group as suppose product subcategory group. Subcategory created. Subcategory group. Comic. Anything. Any group. 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 Suppose select subcategory group. Envelope there. Basically com subcategory group. Subcategory. Subcategory happen. Subcategories coming. Subcategory group coming. Subcategory group. The in happen everything. Let subcategory showing basically single. I did. We with grouped together. They tested. Test. These which and think. Plot all. Label. I did. Compare individual subcategory products with group difference. That that group win. Let me this the link grouping 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 win. Think hierarchies grouping treat hierarchies earlier. Suppose dimension category hierarchy category hierarchies. Let's group should that subcategory group hierarchy now gets me the subcategory groups. This is my category. My category is performing like this. And now, when I do this, what happens? Only the ones which are in the group and not all the subcategories. If previously what we had done is we had pulled the subcategory into the hierarchy. What happened in these three categories? Whatever subcategories were there, all were visible. Correct. But now what we are doing, what we are aiming to do is we have created a group whereby we want to see, with respect to category, only those subcategories which are grouped together and created a hierarchy. What happened? When I do a plus, it shows me the subcategories of these like these being the subcategories. But in the subcategory group, if you see, it only shows me the ones which are the ones which we have grouped together as part of the hierarchy. That's how as well you can create a group and you can set it up as part of your hierarchies. In order to delete a group if you want to, the third way of grouping, that's the third aspect of grouping. Let me again cut it. And then last part of grouping is basically a visual grouping. How do we do that? Let me take, say, profit into columns and let me do it as whenever you have a measure with you, what you can do is you can right click and you can have these various things that you want to do with your thing. The various things that you want to do, some average, median, count, minimum, maximum, percentile, everything. You can do it from the from right click and you can do. You can change according to this. Let me do an average because I want to do a scatter plot. For scatter plot, always it's an average that we take into consideration. Let me take this and let me take, say, shipping cost over here and let me make it average as well. And then let me take my subcategory and put into colors. Can you see it or it is blurred? I know we can see. You can see it, right? Perfect. Now see what happens. Now what I've done is, by profit and shipping cost, I've created a scatter block. Now what you can do is say, oh, let me remove this. Now what you can do is you can see that you have the various subcategories that are there. This is copiers. This is bookcases, etc. All these you see over here are the subcategories which are plotted accordingly. Now from here, say suppose you want to group these. If you have used scatter plot earlier or if you are working with data or better, data, you will always know that we do a scatter plot whenever we are calculating standard deviation. And we want to see that what are the factors which are near to my axis and what are the factors which are far away from the axis or whatever component of my test is at one place. And then what are those factors which are far away? And we want to analyze those factors and see why they are. What is the factor that is differentiating them from the rest? If suppose that is the case, say for example, I want to have these four. I want to have these four as a separate group, which I want to analyze later. If I do this, if I select these four things, and how will I differentiate them from one another? By creating a group. Correct. Because these I see is close to each other. When I select this, how will I create a group over here? See a click button over here. Right. If you click that, it will tell you that there can be a group created named subcategory. And that is called subcategory group 1. Now see what happens. As soon as I create a group, all these four come into a single group. And the rest go to others group. If I want to anyhow, like, see something over here, or if I want to, show mark labels, and if I want to see whatever test I want to do, I can easily differentiate my group of subcategories from the rest of the subcategories. And I can say that this is the group that I want to test. Why these things are like this clear? That is called a visual grouping. How many types of grouping did we see? We saw 4 types of grouping. One is grouping with headers. One is grouping using data window. One is hierarchies in grouping, whereby we can use groups in hierarchies. And the fourth one is visual grouping. That's about grouping. Next, what we will go off. Any doubts in grouping? Perfect. Next, what we will see is next. We will see some of the things that are already coming by default in my system. What are they? They are called measure names, and they are called measure names and measure values. See, there are my one doubt. In scatter flow, can we increase the size of the scatter based on the value? Can we increase the size of the scatter chart like for one dot? If we have different values, we can increase the size of that particular dot, right? We can do all those things. You can format everything over here. You need to just go and you need to check your field and you can format it. You can change shapes of it. You can do change with the sizes of it. Everything you can do. And the size may be like based on the data. I mean, like that is less smaller. If that is high, we have big jobs that you can do, but then your data has. This is not the right data for what you're asking for. If you want to have that, done, then you need to make certain, changes, which is a very good question. But that is not as that is. That is more of a bubble chart that we do. A bubble chart basically has those, the big bubbles and small bubbles and all these things, that customizations. We can definitely do, but that is not this easy as we are talking of. But that has to be, shaped in a bit, that the data has to be in such a shape that we can do that. Let me do something. This is a good question. Let me find an example for you that I can show you how to do it. Perfect. What we were seeing measure names and measure values. You will find by default some fields coming as init links. You see measure names, measure values, latitude, longitude and orders. Why orders? Because order is basically the lowest level of granularity or the most unique thing in this. There is no duplicates in the data in the field. Basically orders. Order count is basically the most unique feature. It is taking orders away. Previously it is to be number of records. Whatever records are there, you can have number of records, which used to be done. Now it is orders count because this is an order thing. But if you go over here somewhere, it will show you. Generated field that counts the number of records in the orders table. Correct, because this is orders table. I'm getting this as orders. What are these and how are they helpful to us? What we can do is, let's say for number of records, let me pull it to rows. We can see that the number of records that are there in this sheet is 51 to 90. This is what sample superstar. That's basically the number of things that are there in this sheet. Now, what is the use of it? Or how will we want to, verify like how are things? Is it really that or not? What we can do is we can have count of orders. Let me keep it in text and let me get my subcategory over in the rows. Now, if you see what happens is it shows you the number of records bifurcated in some subcategories. Is this much for each? Correct. But now you tell that this is how it is coming. How will I see the subtotal? To see a subtotal of things, what you can do is you see there is something called analysis over here. You can go to analysis, you can go to totals, and you can show column brand totals. When you tell show columns brand totals, you see it is 51 to 90, which we were seeing earlier, bifurcated by subcategories. Right? That's how you can, check the orders count or the number of records you can verify, because sometimes maybe your data is automated whereby it is getting aggregated in a weekly or a monthly basis. What you can do is you can go ahead and you can check for yourself how are things doing in terms of this. Next, measure names. Let me put measure names over here. You see no values coming up over here. But then if I just take measure values and put into text, you will see what happens is this is giving me a list of all the measurements in there. See, apart from this latitude and longitude, why it is not coming? Because latitude and longitude is not coming because it will. It is a part of the map chart, and we will see map chart very soon in which latitude and longitude will come into play as a measure. It doesn't come when we are trying to check measure values because it is not an aggregation that we cannot be aggregating it. It's a geographical property, right? That's why it doesn't come. But apart from that, whatever is aggregatable, you see count of orders, sum of discount, sum of profit, sum of quantity, sum of sales, sum of shipping cost, everything is coming in over here, and it shows me that you know how much of discount was there, 733. We know how much of profit happened, like this, like this. Basically, using measure names and measure values, we can see the things like this. And if you want to see it as a graph, you can very well, see it as part of the graph, and you can check for yourself how the things are doing. That's about measure names and measure values. We will see how these things work very soon. This is what you do with the auto-generated fields in your data. Next, we will talk about discrete and continuous. As we have talked, whenever you connect your data, you get some textual fields and then you get some numerical fields. Wherever you see a blue color dimension, they are basically discrete. And wherever you see, I'm not sure how much you're able to see, but if you are able to, then these are basically in blues, and see, these are all the dimensions and these are the measurements which are in green, correct? We have some textual things and some of the numerical values in here. Whenever you go to the blue color dimensions, they are discrete, correct? And the measures which are in green, they are continuous. As we have talked earlier, the discretes are. Discretes are separatable factors which we can separate in certain manners, whereby if I go and say category into columns, or if we take category in over here, we can see that furniture, office supplies and technology are coming separately, but the continuous is a measure which are aggregated. Say now I remove it and if I take sales over here, what I see is it is coming as sum of sales and it is not getting bifurcated into certain things and they are not separated. That's basically a continuous, correct. Discrete will be in blue always and continuous will be in green always. Let's check how to, some of the things which we can create in order to check our discrete and continuous variables. Let me take my subcategory into rows and then let me take my sales into columns like this and let me sort it to descending and let me get my labels at place. Now if I do something, if I bring my category into colors, see what happens. All the separate things that pertain to certain subcategories, they get a different color altogether, correct? Red, orange and blue. These are the three colors that are assigned to the categories which we want to be separated together. That's why they can be separated. That is the feature of a discrete value, correct? Now, if I pull up the white, some data level is not showing, some is going. What data level is not strong? First section 4 is showing 1,70,000. Wow, that is because of the alignment. That is because there are bars which are let me do this and you see this is coming. That is basically a space issue, nothing else. See, discrete values can be separated and separately colored. Now for the same example, let me remove category and let me bring in sales to color. See what happens now. It is not getting separated, but it is getting a gradient color. This is called a gradient coloring, whereby it is blue only. But what is it happening? It is a continuous field. There is a continuous shade of blue, and if you see the right side as well, to 73404 to 17,16804, because I have taken sales, it is giving me a gradient coloring and is not separating the sales altogether, and it is showing the continuous feature of the continuous nature of this field, which basically is showed when we put a continuous value into color, whereas when we are taking category, it is giving a different color altogether. If you say, suppose take market, it is giving you a separate color altogether, correct? That's basically the difference between discrete and continuous in terms of a graph that we see. This is called a color bar chart. Now let's see how we can color on maps and how we can see a discrete and continuous thing. This looks good. No, yes, here is auto selecting the bar chart, right? Auto selecting the bar chart just right now it's a stacked bar chart like this. Exactly, it is a stack because we have markets. Because we have several markets for one subcategory. That's why it's automatically coming based on the data. Yes, but then you get the options also. Right? If you want to have this, or if you want to have this, if you want to have this in the same chat, Can we break it down? Yes, these are the options for you. That is coming up. Let me look at the next thing. We were talking about maps. Now, how do you get maps? You for looking at data at map level, see there is something called a state. You just need to double click on it. Once you double click on it, according to my data, what happens is the longitude and latitude gets defined in the certain portions of the country. Don't go by the data, don't go by the country, don't go by the country, don't go by the states and everything. That is separate. This is to know discrete and continuous. Only now, once we do this, the map is created. Now, if I put sales into color, see what happens as a sales is a continuous variable. It basically shows me from the lowest till the highest what is the distribution across the country using latitude and longitudinal fields and distributing it throughout the graph. That's how we are. We do this in maps as well. That's basically coloring on maps using the measures. And the next will be, let's see how we can filter the discrete and the continuous, or the measures, the discrete of the dimensions. Correct. Let me pull in subcategory to rows again, and let me pull in sales to columns again. Let me do a descending now. Let me pull category to filters. If I pull category to filters, we get a dialog box to pick up exact things. I can select only say furniture, and I can hit on apply, and I see only the subcategories pertinent to certain furniture category. I can see the subcategories in there, whereas if I put sales into the filters, I don't get the same dialog box, right? What I get is an aggregating factor that is coming up, and I want to agree, and I need to go ahead and select one of the aggregation factors. I need to do a next. I need to select range of values and do the next steps that are involved in it. That's basically where we are in terms of discrete and continuous. Hopefully by these 4 examples, discrete and continuous is clear, right guys? Perfect, cool. Now we have done mostly all the topics for the day. Let me do the last topic, and we can start from this topic tomorrow as well maybe, but let's do it. That is called parameters. Parameter is one of the very important topics that comes in Tableau, whereby a parameter is always a parameter is a feature in Tableau, which basically helps you select, helps you navigate, helps you, arrange, helps you. It's a one-stop shop for all your arranging, viewing, and all those things that you want to do. As part of a dashboard, a parameter comes very handy. How? I'll show you why and how a parameter is needed. Let me pull in again. Let me pull in sales to columns, and let me pull in subcategory to rows. That's how things are now. Say suppose we want to filter subcategory by top 10 sales. What do we do? Firstly, we have arranged it. Now what we will do is we will put subcategory into filters also, and then we will go to top. Then we will go to field top 10 by say sum is, we will hit and apply, and now I have my top 10. Now we have my 10 things. Now we have my 10 subcategories in here. What do I need to do? I need to again go to the filter. I need to do the edit filter. I need to change over here as 12. We can apply and come away now. Tomorrow, my client wants to see 7. What he has to do is, again he has to do this. But this is a very weird kind of a process whereby every time you need to edit and you need to do for that reason because, and this cannot be the process in your dashboard, right? For your dashboard purposes, there is something called a parameter that comes into play. A parameter basically helps you to solve this. What to say? This redundant way of doing the work into a single thing, whereby what you can now do is you can have your subcategory into your filter. Go to top by field where you see 10 by sales. If you see there is a drop down, click on the drop down and see there is something called a create a new parameter. Select it. Now what happens? A parameter 1 comes up. Let's name the parameter 1 as What do you want to name it as? Say selection pane. And what we see? The current value is 10 and minimum is 1 and maximum is 100. Let me not keep it as 100. Let me do it as 20 and let me hit the apply. You see under the C. Now till now we have had dimensions and measurements. Now we also have a bracket called parameter named as selection pane. Now if I do a show parameter over here, what happens? I get something like this, which basically is bifurcated into many things, and you can also customize your parameters to this or type in or anything that you want to for yourself, and you can do it. Later you can explore those things. Now 10 is selected. Now my client wants 7. Once they drag it to 7, they want 5, they want 13, they want 17, they want 19. They can have whatever toggling way that they want to. They can do it like this till 20. If you want to edit it, you can edit it to 30, 40, 100, whatever you want to, and you can have a user-friendly experience using a parameter. Correct. Now, you can also use parameters in certain other ways whereby this was to remove redundancy. That is something that you can do. The next thing that we will see is how to use a parameter. With sets, what is a set? Anyone who knows what is set? You remember set theory, universal set and subset those sets. We will have sets and we will see how we can do it. Now again, we have the sales and we have the. In my rows, I have subcategory. Here are two things needed in this scenario whereby we need a set and we need a parameter to work on that front. We need a set and 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 we need a set. And I want to highlight my subcategories based on those top 10 and top 5 things. Let us first create a set. Here I go to my subcategory and I click a right click if I go to create and create. See, there is something called a set, right? Let me create on this set. What it shows me, subcategory set. In my subcategory set, what I want is my field. I want a set which will give me all those top 10 stuffs, right? But over here, we want to have this parameter which was created to select top 20 stuffs. In my set, I want those top 20 stuffs to be operated, and I want to see how is the performance with respect to sales. Once I'm creating this set, I'll select top and again in top 10. What I'll do is I already have this parameter created selection pane, right? I'll select selection pane in here and I'll get done. Right now, let me do something. Now let me bring in this set is created. Now, if I bring in the set, let me complete this and then I will talk to you. What we can do is now what we did. Oh, sorry, I just put it over there. Now we have the set, the subcategory set. Now, if I will go and put it into the colors, what we see is top 10 stuffs always. Now see if how many ever a selection we are doing over here. It is showing me the top sales metrics over here. What is it based on? Based on top sum of sales and selected number of parameters. If it is not like not say, suppose not sorted, also we can see it clear sort. If you see it like this, then it will be much more clear to you. What it is showing me is among all these things I have among all these 3 selections, I want to see the top sales, and it is showing me that if I do to see this gets removed. Why it is getting removed? Because this sale and this sale is higher than the rest of the things. If I select 11, it shows me all the 11 top sales with respect to all the 11 top sales with respect to the subcategory sales that are defined over here. That's how it works. And what does it mean in and out when we see the legends? What does it mean if I'm selecting 3? These 3 things are in the set. I've created a set where what is a set? A set basically is a collection of items which I want to keep as a separate, like which are alike. Then you remember in school days we used to have universal set which used to have all these things, and then we had a subset which used to have the say even numbers too. 4, 6, 8, 10 is an even number, and that is a set, a prime number. We used to create a set over an even number set. Right over here we are creating a set which are matching the condition. What condition? Top sales. What is my top sales? That is my condition, and what is in the set is whatever matches the condition, and what is helping to match the condition is the parameter that you've created over here. That's how parameter facilitates stuffs, and that's how parameters help in. Like the visuals and work with the different sets, groups, etc. You know parameters very well, work with this. And if you use these things in your dashboard, then it makes a very good user experience at the end of the day. With that, I think we are done for the day today. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.